Chapter 1, Part 3. The air inside the Mitchell salt box tasted of damp wool, stale chowder, and the metallic tang of dread. Angela's mother, Lena, sat hunched at the scarred kitchen table, a single sheet of paper lying between them like a live grenade. The letterhead, Northwest Oncology Associates, was stark under the flickering fluorescent light. The number circled in red ink seemed to pulse. $3,850. Due immediately. Dr. Evans called it consolidated billing. Lena whispered, her voice thin and frayed. She traced the number with a trembling finger. The last scans, the new medication insurance covered less than they said. She looked up, her eyes, Angela's storm-sea eyes, swimming with a fear that had nothing to do with Anthony Moretti. I'm so sorry, Angie. I thought we had more time. Angela's stomach clenched. $3,850 wasn't just a number. It was the gaping maw beneath their already precarious existence. Rent, utilities, groceries, Lena's part-time wages at the struggling bookstore. It was a sum that laughed at thrift store jeans and packed lunches. Desperation, cold and oily, seeped into Angela's bones. Exploit it if necessary. Eleanor Moretti's phantom words hissed in her mind. A sharp, authoritative knock rattled the flimsy front door. Too early for Megan. Lena flinched. Angela rose, her heart hammering against her ribs. She peered through the peephole. Anthony Moretti stood on the sagging porch, backlit by the gray twilight. He wasn't looking at the chipped paint or the cracked window pane. His gaze was fixed straight ahead, unnervingly direct. He wore dark jeans and a black cashmere sweater under his expensive coat, looking utterly alien against the backdrop of Harbor's End decay. In his hand, he held a sleek, black leather folder, thinner than the portfolio, but radiating the same terrifying efficiency. Angela opened the door a crack, blocking the view inside. What do you want? Her voice was flat, stripped bare. Anthony didn't flinch at the hostility. His eyes, that unnerving blue, scanned her face, the lingering pallor, the shadows under her eyes. He saw the strain. Of course he did. We need to talk. Privately. His voice was low, devoid of its usual mocking lilt. It was pure business. Angela stepped onto the porch, pulling the door shut behind her. The damp, salt-laden air wrapped around them. Talk. Anthony opened the folder. Inside wasn't a bill or a threat, but a single, crisp document. The letterhead bore the Moretti Foundation's elegant crest. At the top, typed neatly, Grant Application, Harbor's End Family Medical Support Fund. Your mother, Anthony stated, his gaze unwavering, Lena Mitchell. Stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Current treatment protocol. ABVD chemotherapy. Insurance provider, Coastal Health Alliance, Silver Plan. Current outstanding balance, $3,850. Estimated upcoming treatment costs over next 6 months, $18,200. Here cited the figures with chilling precision. Coastal Health's coverage cap for oncology drugs is notoriously low. You're facing bankruptcy or treatment interruption within 4 months. Angela felt the world tilt. How? How did he know everything? The diagnosis they'd kept fiercely private, the specific treatment, the numbers. It was an invasion, a violation laid bare on expensive paper. Did you dig through our trash? She hissed, fury warring with the icy tendrils of fear. Public records, Anthony replied coolly. Medical liens, insurance filings. Cross-referenced with school absence records and pharmacy deliveries to this address. It's basic due diligence. He tapped the document. The Moretti Foundation administers several hardship grants. This one is specifically for residents of Harbor's End facing catastrophic medical expenses. Full coverage. All outstanding debts paid. Future treatments covered. No repayment required. Angela stared at the paper. It shimmered like a mirage. A lifeline thrown by the devil himself. Why? The words scraped her throat raw. Why show me this? To gloat? To prove you can reach into our lives and rip them apart whenever you want. Anthony closed the folder with a soft snap. I'm offering you the grant, Mitchell. Full approval. Immediate disbursement. The silence stretched, thick with the roar of the unseen surf and Angela's pounding heart. The cruelty of dangling this in front of her was exquisite torture. In exchange for what? She whispered, already knowing the answer would shatter something inside her. My silence? My surrender? Dropping out of Crestwood. A flicker of something, impatience, crossed his face. Nothing so crude. He met her eyes again, and for the first time, Angela saw a crack in the icy facade. Not warmth, but a strange, driven intensity. I require a social arrangement. Angela blinked. What? A relationship, Anthony stated, the words sounding clinical, detached. Public. Visible. Believable. Angela actually laughed, a harsh, disbelieving sound. You've lost your mind. Listen, he cut in, his voice sharpening. My mother is displeased. The Moretti fax incident, however minor, drew unwelcome attention. It made our family appear vulnerable to petty attacks. Unruly. He practically spat the word. She requires a demonstration of control. Stability. A distraction from the noise. He gestured vaguely towards the cliffs. A relationship with someone unexpected. Someone not from Cliffside. It disarms critics. Makes us seem grounded. Human, even. Angela stared at him, comprehension dawning with a wave of nausea. You want to use me? As damage control? For your family's image. Precisely. He didn't deny it. 6 months. Public appearances. School events. Dinners. Superficial affection. We sell the narrative. Rivals turned unlikely allies, perhaps more. Crestwood's prince and the Harbor's End scholarship student finding common ground. The ghost of a cynical smile touched his lips. It's a story people will buy, especially after our little détente at Split Rock. Angela felt sick. The torn sketch, the fleeting vulnerability, all just data points in his cold calculation. And after 6 months? We stage a mutual, amicable parting. The grant remains. Your mother's treatment is secured. His gaze hardened. You walk away. We go back to ignoring each other. Or fighting. Whatever suits you. The rain began again, a cold drizzle slicking Anthony's blonde hair against his forehead. He stood waiting, an immovable stone pillar against the gray wash of the harbor. The leather folder in his hand held the power to erase the terror in her mother's eyes, to lift the crushing weight threatening to bury them. It also held the power to shackle Angela to the boy who had orchestrated her public humiliation, who saw her pain as leverage. Exploit it if necessary. Eleanor Moretti's voice echoed. Anthony wasn't just offering a deal. He was proving he'd learned his mother's lessons well. What about Megan? Angela asked, her voice barely audible over the rain. Her recommendations? Restored. Immediately upon your agreement. Anthony's answer was swift. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. Goodwill. Angela tasted bile. This was extortion wrapped in philanthropy. A performance piece paid for with her mother's life. She looked past Anthony, towards the churning, gunmetal gray of the strait. Split Rock was invisible in the mist, but she felt its presence, the immovable obstacle, the dividing line. To save her mother, she had to cross it. To become Anthony Moretti's paid companion. His prop. The wind whipped a strand of wet hair across her face. She thought of the charcoal sketch, the intensity in his eyes when he drew her. Was any of that real? Or was it just another layer of the performance? Did it even matter now? She turned back to him. Rain dripped from the porch roof onto his shoulder, darkening the expensive wool. He didn't seem to notice. His gaze was fixed on hers, waiting, calculating. Fine, Angela said, the word tasting like salt and ashes. 6 months. Public. Believable. You pay the bill. All of them. And Megan's recommendations are reinstated. Today. A flicker of something unreadable passed through Anthony's eyes. Relief? Triumph? It vanished instantly, replaced by the cool mask. Agreed. He extended the leather folder. The grant approval is inside. Signed by the Foundation Director. Funds will be transferred to Northwest Oncology by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Megan's guidance counselor will receive a retraction within the hour. Angela took the folder. It felt heavy. Toxic. How do we start this charade? Anthony reached into his coat pocket and pulled out 2 tickets. They were thick, expensive cardstock. Asterisk Pacific Symphony Orchestra, Gala Opening Night. Saturday, 8 p.m. Asterisk we start, he said, his voice regaining a hint of its old, polished arrogance, by being seen. Pick you up at 7:30. Wear something. His eyes swept over her worn jeans and faded sweatshirt. Red. It photographs well. He turned and walked down the steps into the rain without a backward glance, disappearing into the harbor's end gloom as quickly as he'd appeared. Angela stood frozen on the porch, the sleek folder burning in her hands. Inside the house, she could hear her mother's quiet, muffled sobs. Outside, the rain fell harder, washing the world clean and dirty all at once. She had just sold 6 months of her life, her dignity, her hard-won animosity, to the enemy. The war wasn't over. It had just become a hostage situation. The red dress felt like a costume. Not just any costume, but one tailored for a role Angela despised. It was Megan's doing. A frantic raid on a consignment shop downtown yielded a sleeveless, blood-red sheath dress that clung in ways Angela found vaguely mortifying. Megan had zipped her into it with grim determination, her eyes avoiding Angela's in the cracked bathroom mirror. Red for rage, right? Megan had muttered, applying eyeliner with aggressive strokes. Or blood money. Take your pick. She'd refused to discuss the reinstated Stanford recommendation, the relief warring with guilt and anger in her eyes. Just survive tonight, Mitch. And punch him if he tries anything. Survival felt like the operative word as the matte black Range Rover purred to a stop outside the salt box at precisely 7:30 p.m. Anthony emerged, a study in monochrome elegance, a perfectly fitted black tuxedo, his blonde hair swept back with ruthless precision. He didn't comment on the chipped paint or sagging porch. His gaze swept over Angela, standing stiffly in the borrowed dress and Megan's 2 high heels. For a fraction of a second, something flickered in his eyes, not mockery, but a startled, intense appraisal. It vanished instantly, replaced by cool professionalism. You look appropriate, he stated, holding the car door open. The faint scent of cedar and expensive soap enveloped her as she slid onto the buttersoft leather seat. Appropriate. A prop. A tool. The Port Townsend Performing Arts Center was a monument to cliffside wealth. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers. Men in tuxedos and women draped in jewels murmured like a well-dressed flock of exotic birds. The air hummed with the clink of champagne flutes and the low thrum of cultivated conversation. Angela felt every eye like a physical touch as Anthony guided her through the glittering throng, his hand alight, impersonal pressure on the small of her back. A brand. Anthony, darling. A woman swathed in silver silk materialized, air-kissing his cheek. Her eyes, sharp as diamonds, raked over Angela. And who is your charming companion? The pause before charming was deliberate, dismissive. Eleanor, this is Angela Mitchell, Anthony said smoothly, his voice projecting warmth he didn't feel. Angela, my mother. Eleanor Moretti. Eleanor's smile didn't reach her eyes. They were Anthony's glacial blue, but colder, harder. Mitchell. Harbor's End. The name was a diagnosis. How unexpected. Anthony mentioned he was bringing someone from his volunteer work. The emphasis on volunteer was a scalpel dissecting Angela's presence. Such a commendable initiative, dear. Cleaning up the beaches for the less fortunate must be rewarding. Angela felt the heat rise in her cheeks. Anthony's hand tightened almost imperceptibly on her back, a warning or a command. It's important work, Mrs. Moretti, Angela managed, forcing her voice level. The ocean belongs to everyone. Eleanor's smile tightened. Indeed. Though some seemed to benefit more directly than others. Her gaze flicked to Anthony. Do ensure Angela samples the caviar, darling. It's beluga, an experience she might not otherwise encounter. She drifted away, leaving a trail of frost. Anthony steered Angela towards the bar. "Champagne?" he asked, his voice low. "Water," Angela gritted out. "I need a clear head to navigate this minefield." A ghost of something. Amusement? Touched his lips.
Wise.
Stick close.
Smile. Nod.
Let me do the talking. They moved through the crowd. Anthony was a master. He introduced Angela as a brilliant Crestwood debater, passionate about environmental causes, showing me the real harbor's end. The narrative was woven seamlessly, the prince humbled, the scholarship student enlightening. Angela played her part, offering tight smiles and monosyllabic answers, feeling like an exhibit. She saw the curiosity, the thinly veiled skepticism, the outright disdain in the eyes of the cliffside elite. Whispers followed them. Moretti slumming it? Damage control after that Instagram mess? She's actually quite striking in a feral way. Anthony fielded it all with polished indifference, his charm a shield. But Angela saw the tension in the line of his jaw, the almost imperceptible tightening around his eyes when Eleanor's gaze found them across the room. Watchful and calculating, the symphony began. They took their seats in the Moretti family box, plush velvet, a dizzying view of the stage. The music swelled, a complex tapestry of sound that filled the vast space. Tchaikovsky's Pathetic. Angela closed her eyes for a moment, letting the sorrowful beauty of the strings wash over her, a brief escape from the gilded cage. She felt Anthony shift beside her. Then, his hand closed over hers where it rested on the armrest. It wasn't a gentle gesture. It was deliberate, possessive. His skin was warm, his grip firm. Angela stiffened, instinctively trying to pull away, but he held fast, lacing his fingers through hers. A public display. Proof of the relationship. "Relax," he murmured, his lips barely moving, his eyes fixed on the conductor. "It's part of the performance." Angela forced herself to breathe. His touch was an electric shock, jolting through the numbness. It felt nothing like the impersonal pressure on her back. This was intimate. Claiming. She could feel the calluses on his fingertips, unexpected for someone who lived behind glass walls. She stared at their joined hands. His were large, strong, the nails perfectly manicured. Hers felt small, rough by comparison. The contrast was jarring. The music soared, a wave of aching passion, and she felt his thumb brush almost unconsciously over her knuckle. A tiny, betraying caress. Her heart hammered against her ribs. It's fake. It's all fake. But the warmth of his hand, the unexpected roughness of his skin, the vibration of the music thrumming through them both, it felt terrifyingly real. She risked a glance at his profile. He was staring straight ahead, jaw set, but a muscle flickered in his temple. He wasn't unaffected. The mask was cracking under the strain of his own performance. At intermission, Anthony excused himself to mingle. Angela fled the box, seeking refuge in the relative quiet of a marble-floored hallway lined with portraits of dead benefactors. She leaned against the cool stone, trying to steady her breathing, the phantom feel of Anthony's hand still burning on her skin. "You're playing a dangerous game, Harbor's End." Angela whirled. Liam Carter leaned against the opposite wall, swirling a glass of amber liquid. His expression was a mix of disbelief and predatory interest. "What do you want, Liam?" Angela snapped. He pushed off the wall, stepping closer. "Just admiring the view. Never figured Moretti for the charity case type. Or the slumming type." His gaze raked over her dress. "Though you clean up surprisingly well. Maybe there's more to you than angry flyers and janitor duty." "Back off," Angela warned, her voice low. Liam chuckled. "Touchy. Just offering friendly advice. Anthony doesn't do real. Especially not with girls from the wrong side of the tracks. He's using you, sweetheart. Hard." And when Eleanor's done with the damage control, he mimed wiping his hands clean. "You'll be back scrubbing toilets. Only this time, everyone will know why." He took a sip of his drink. "Enjoy the champagne while it lasts. It's the only taste of his world you'll ever get." He sauntered away, leaving Angela chilled. She knew Liam was a snake, but his words echoed her own fears. She turned back towards the ornate windows overlooking the rainy street, a reflection of her own anxious face staring back. A figure materialized beside her reflection in the dark glass. Anthony. He hadn't made a sound. His face was pale, his eyes wide and uncharacteristically haunted. He looked shaken. He glanced down the hallway, then back at Angela, his voice dropping to a raw, urgent whisper that cut through the distant hum of the crowd. She knows. Before Angela could process the words, could ask who knew what, Anthony grabbed her wrist. Not possessively this time. Desperately. His grip was almost painful. He pulled her away from the window, his eyes scanning the hallway like a hunted animal. The polished prince was gone. In his place was raw, undisguised fear. We need to leave.
Now.